What's up, Ocean? You got Matt here, and welcome to episode 14 of our 30-part series on every single GMAX Pokemon. In this series, my guests and I go in depth on every Gigantamax Pokemon out there. We'll be covering their stats, move pools, potential teammates, impact on the Sword and Shield competitive meta, and in the end, give it a ranking. Once the series is over, I'll be making a video covering the top 10 GMAX Pokemon in Sword and Shield. Last week we covered GMAX Orbeetle with 6-foot hacks, which was an awesome video, very informative and very, very fun as always. So if you missed it, be sure to check it out. It's in the cards at the top right of your screen and in the description. And shout out to Adriano for taking home the comment of the week for the second time. If you guys want to be featured on next week's video, all you have to do is leave a comment to have your name entered into the ring. This week, we are finally covering GMAX Sandaconda. After 10 episodes of it being up for vote, it is finally time. But as always, we are not alone. We are joined by one of the commissioners of the BBR and the coach of the Detroit Steel Wings, CBAD himself.
What's going on, guys? Happy to be here.
If you guys didn't know, CBAD and I are actually going to be playing for week 4 of the BBR on Saturday, so make sure to check out both of our videos on that because that battle was honestly incredible. We just got finished playing that game before sitting down to record this, so make sure to come by and check it out. And of course, all of CBAD's links will be down in the description below, so be sure to check them out. Also, if you'd like to vote on which Pokemon I cover next, there's a straw poll link in the description and in the comments so you can have your voice heard. Now everyone, we are currently on the road to 800 subscribers, so if you guys are excited for the video, be sure to leave a like on the video, comment your thoughts on GMAX Sandaconda, and of course subscribe to the channel if you enjoy competitive Pokemon content. But as always, we start like this. Chase, what about GMAX Sandaconda stands out the most to you?
So one of my favorite things about GMAX Sandaconda is obviously its signature GMAX move, GMAX Sandblast, where it takes any ground type move, gives it that extra edge from the GMAX move, but then also acts as a, Sand Trap, Sand Tomb damage on existing for the next few turns. Having that residual damage is always nice. Pairing it with its Sand Spit ability, if you have a Pokemon that is not immune to weather damage, not only are you hitting it super hard with just a tremendously powerful GMAX Sandblast, you're getting the residual damage off from the trapping effect, and then you're getting more Sandstorm damage off on top of there. If you pair that thing with something like a Rocky Helmet, something like that, going for a physical move, you can get so much residual damage on it just off of one move, let alone the additional turns that you have the Gigantamax against your opponent.
I will say, with its stats, only base 107 attack, GMAX Sandblast makes it hit so much harder. Just having that extra 1/6 HP going down every turn is absolutely huge, changing 3 hit KOs to 2 hit KOs and potential 2 hit KOs into 1 hit KOs. In terms of its stats though, looking at it, it's got pretty lackluster speed, wouldn't you say, for a GMAX Pokemon?
I'd have to agree with you. I think base 71 really doesn't give you that many options. There's a lot of viable Pokemon that can pressure this thing offensively that go well above base 71 speed. My counter argument to that is that Sandaconda is one of the few Pokemon that does a normal role of a ground type. It sets rocks, it gets Edgequake, blah, 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 maybe a coverage move. But it also gets access to Hurricane, and when you pair that with Gigantamaxing and being able to toss off the Dynamax Max Airstream to boost your speed by 1 stage, that you got to take that into consideration a little bit, because if you switch in a Pokemon that, oh, well, I can take a hit, outspeed, and knock it out, if you switch that in on the Max Airstream, now you have to worry about, great, now I have to take a GMAX Sandblast, I have to take a Max Flare, something like that afterwards. So it is underwhelming, but I think it does have some potential with boosting its stats through those Dynamax moves in order to make up for that.
Dynamax moves are honestly broken. We all know this already, but the big thing for me for Sandaconda isn't necessarily the coverage that it has. It's the fact that it boosts its HP by doubles its HP stat, which is incredible because its special defense is lacking at only base 70. So what normally would be a Pokemon that only takes physical attacks extremely well and can kind of take special attacks, now can take everything and do tons of damage back. So it becomes a really good tank, and it has setup options like Coil as well to kind of boost its stats as well to make it really a more formidable threat.
No, absolutely. Pairing it with something like Coil, pairing it with something like Iron Defense as well, just to boost those already existing stats. Run it more specially defensive, pair it with something like that Coil sets, Coil 3 attacks, maybe Iron Defense, Body Press combination. It really does make it something you have to prep for.
To me, the big thing with Sandaconda for its move pool is that it gets Body Press. That's the big one. You mentioned it just before because you're boosting its attack when you're going for just a normal attacking move. Body Press in its own right is really solid before and during Gigantamax, and its coverage is phenomenal like you had mentioned before. Fire Fang is great as well to hit those grass types that might want to come in and hit you just like Hurricane like you said. And the new addition of Scorching Sands always will have its usefulness.
Absolutely. The coverage moves that it gets access to, especially with the new DLC, also having access now to the Scale Shot move, hitting 2 to 5 times, being able to boost your speed on top of that. Maybe you don't want to run GMAX Hurricane or Max Hurricane, Max Airstream. Maybe you want to just run Scale Shot, see what you can get a speed boost, and then pop your Gigantamax. go for a max flare, go for a max rock move, go for a max bug move, go for any one of its coverage moves. I mean, it is a Pokemon that definitely can be ran in very solid niches.
By the sounds of it, this Pokemon is so much better by the introduction of the new DLC moves. Having access to all of those, like you had mentioned, really changes a lot of what Sandaconda can do and makes it a lot more formidable in the format. Looking at its abilities, let's kind of shift gears and talk about those because it has 3 of them that can be all viable in their own right. Sandveil is probably the least of our concern here because mostly can be active when Sandstorm is up, and that does get procced when you go for a max Rockfall, but Shedskin and Sandspit definitely have their uses. If you're drafting this GMAX Sandaconda, which weeks, what kind of matchups are you looking at to bring a Sandspit versus a Shedskin, and which one do you prefer most on this set?
So it all comes down to what ultimately you're going to draft. If you have, you've got your Tyranitar, you've got your Hippowdons, you've got your Gigalith, you've got your cheeky Hippopotas all the way down there at the bottom of the tier, but you want a reliable sand setter, and I think Sandaconda with that Sandspit ability, while it doesn't provide the most reliable, if those are gone and you somehow manage to pick up maybe a late-end Stoutland or something like that that has Sand Rush, you do have the option to pair that with Sandspit. Alternatively, you can also grab other Sand Rush users such as Lycanroc, if leagues are allowing the hidden ability Fossil-type Pokemon. That's going to take into consideration if you want to run Sandspit. Ultimately, if you're going for any sort of setup opportunities with moves like Coil, with moves like Iron Defense, trying to pair that with any sort of boosting moves through your Dynamax moves, Shedskin is going to prove to be very great. Running that with even just a Rest 3 attack set with Shedskin, you've got that 33% chance at the end of the turn to shed off that sleep. You take the hit, all of a sudden you wake up and you're good as new. You can go on ahead and go for those Earthquakes, go for those Fire Fangs, go for those Stone Edges, things like that. More likely than not, I would ended up running the Sandspit ability just because Sandstorm always it boosts your Rock type special defenses as well if you carry any on the team. Shedskin you do need to prep for and you need to have that build for in that supporting role. But ultimately, I think if you are going to go with the standard GMAX Sandaconda set, I think Sandspit's going to be your best take.
I definitely agree with that. I find that where it really shines in terms of its abilities is depending on what your opponent has. If your opponent has defensive Pokemon that really struggle with keeping their health back, maybe something that relies on a Wish Passer, or maybe your opponent doesn't have Wish and they're relying on something that has no recovery to wall a good chunk of your team, you have access to a move that will move in Sand Blast that will reduce their HP by 1/6, and then Sandstorm, which will reduce their HP even further. So it adds and adds and adds, and it's just so much extra damage that can really change the outcome of a game pretty significantly in your favor. Moving on to items now. I am currently in a league, that is allowing Gigantamax Pokemon, but they can only hold Pokeballs.
I'm sorry.
Oh, thanks. I thought I was like, what's going on? Did we drop connection? But no, you're sorry for me because it's such a bad rule. Yeah, it's a pretty shitty rule. It sucks, but it balances the mechanic a lot. Sandaconda struggles because it can't have certain items. If you had to give Sandaconda 1 or 2 items that you find that would really increase its viability in the format, what kind of items would you be looking at?
Ultimately, if we're taking a look at GMAX within the format, I was able to play in the WBE during the season where they allowed Gigantamax alongside an unlimited item rule where you were not restricted to just the 1 Pokeball. Pairing it with something like a Life Orb always ended up doing very well. One of my favorable matchups was against a Weavile lead against GMAX Sandaconda. Pairing it with a Yachi Berry did help out in the face of that adamant Life Orb Weavile to take that hit and turn around and knock it out. Assault Vest, it does have enough coverage moves to where when you pair that with some of your max moves to boost to boost your attack, to boost your speed, things of that nature, Assault Vest can't go wrong boosting that already kind of lower special defense stat. If I had to go for 3 overall, I'd probably say Life Orb's a great pick for any Gigantamax Pokemon, followed up by maybe Yachi Berry to help out with that pretty common ice weakness that a lot of people seem to run and keep in mind for that Pokemon. And then maybe Leftovers just to give it a little bit more skin in the game, just in case you don't feel like running that rest Shedskin set that we touched on.
Yeah, so Leftovers is definitely at the top of my list, but close behind it is the Assault Vest. And then I kind of mention this one all the time, but a weakness policy is really great in a lot of Gigantamax Pokemon because a lot of times the out that people have to it is hitting it with a strong, super effective attack. Sometimes that might not be in a Pokemon that has Stab, so Sandaconda in its Gigantamax state can definitely take that hit, and then it gets access to a double boost in its attack and special attack, so you can hit hard with that max Hurricane.
No, I'd agree with you 100%. Weakness policy is a great move to have on Gigantamax Pokemon. I'm upset I actually never ran it now that you're talking about it, but pairing it does have great bulk. Like you said, a lot of Pokemon that are going to come in, they're going to try to hit it with a super effective coverage move because, they'll never see this coming, and then all of a sudden they get hit by that super effective move. It takes a lot to take down a Gigantamax Pokemon. I think when people prep for those coverage moves, unless you're going GMAX on GMAX, it just really is a great opportunity to take advantage of your opponent's team prep. and then proceed to counter sweep with something like getting +1 with Hurricane, getting any sort of boost off with a max fighting move, things of that nature.
I mean, Sandaconda definitely has its benefits, but it can't do everything alone, right? It needs to have teammates that support it. You have Ninetales, which is supporting your team like crazy in the BBR. So what are some Pokemon that would support GMAX Sandaconda and make it be the best Pokemon that it can be?
So I think, like a lot of Pokemon that play the Sandaconda role, I think Sandaconda has a little bit of a hard time breaking down bulky waters. I think pairing it with that fast offensive electric type Pokemon could be really nicely, just to help kind of neutralize that. Pairing it with also a Wish Passer can be very, very crucial. Pairing it with something like Clefable, pairing it with something like Aromatisse, even Vaporeon, just to kind of help out some of those other weaknesses that it might have. Of course, you're going to have that grass weakness you got to worry about, but just being able to toss Wishes back into this thing so you can always make sure that Sandaconda comes in very healthy, that's going to play a big role. Ultimately, I think if I had to, gun to my head, pick a just ultimate teammate for this Pokemon, it's either going to be your fast electric types, or it's going to be maybe something that can take advantage of that sand. Maybe something like an Excadrill, like a Stoutland, like we touched on earlier, if your league allows for those hidden ability fossils. Being able to just have that sand spit, and then all of a sudden your opponent, oh right, they have Sand Rush Dracovish, I'm in trouble. Definitely helps open up the move pool and open up the building process just a little bit.
That's a good point. The fast electric type is definitely something that's very, very important. I have one specific Pokemon that I really like, and obviously there's tons of different options, but this one here fits extremely well, and that's going to be Alakazam. Alakazam not only has incredible speed, base 120, so it can outspeed a lot of the common threats in the game, a ridiculous special attack, but it has access to Magic Guard, meaning if you are running the Sand Spit or if you do go for a max Rockfall, you can still manage to have something with a Focus Sash intact always in the back to make sure that you can take a hit, fire back a powerful attack, and get a KO that maybe something that, I guess, KO'd your Sandaconda. Just a really good revenge killer, and at the same time, it breaks things really well. It has access to Psy Shock, so you're breaking on the physical side as well as the special side. I find Alakazam is a really good niche when paired with Sandaconda.
Absolutely. It's got an incredible arrangement of moves on the special side. That Sandaconda, while having a little bit more of a diverse move pool on the physical side for your standard ground type rocker, unfortunately it lacks some of those moves that Alakazam just kind of brings to the table and pairs with it specially. And like you said, being able to have that Sand Spit, being able to go for the max Rockfall, toss up the sand, things like that, where all of a sudden your Sandaconda goes down, what do? Bring in Focus Sash Alakazam. It doesn't care about the sand. It doesn't care about hazards. It just goes for it. It hits it from the side. It hits it from the special side, being able to break from the physical side as well, like Psy Shock, like you said. Setting up with Calm Mind, having access to Nasty Plot, and now the expanding Force move really does make it a great special attacking Pokemon to pair with Sandaconda.
One of the things I really like about Sandaconda as a Gigantamax Pokemon specifically is because ground is an absolutely necessary type to have on a draft league roster, you can kind of pick this up a bit later and it'll fill the void of being, one, an amazing ground type, but also being an amazing GMAX Pokemon. So it fits well on so many different teams. Play around with your different options, look at what you're building with, and try and see what works well with this Pokemon, what doesn't work well. Do I have conflicting weather or something? That might be a bit of a problem if you do, but at the end of the day, Sandaconda really shines in a lot of different roles when it can be given the opportunity to do multiple different things, not just be locked into being the same old standard defensive ground type that's just going to set up rocks for you, die eventually, maybe take a hit or two.
100%. It is a great overall value pick. A lot of people are going to go for those faster, those more immediately offensive GMAX Pokemon, like your Gengars, like your Machamps, like your Shifus that are now in the game. But Sandaconda is a great late round pick to fill that Gigantamax roster. It fills that stealth rocker that everybody is always coveting, and it fills that necessary ground type. Absolutely.
All right, well, at this point, we are pretty much done with the video. All we have left to do is give it a ranking. And we usually rank these Pokemon from a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the absolute best of the best. Now, in your opinion, where would you rank this Pokemon?
As a GMAX Pokemon, Sandaconda does provide a lot of offensive pressure. I think if you're rating this out of 10 in comparison to its other Gigantamax counterparts, Cinderace, all of the new Galarian starters, all of the Cantonian starters that just were released with the DLC, the existing GMAX Pokemon that were already in the game, it can be a bit underwhelming. It does require a little bit more prep work. It doesn't just come in, unfortunately, and click moves like the other Pokemon. So while it does fill some niche roles within a team, I think this Pokemon's going to sit at about a 6 out of 10.
You know, we're close on that in terms of ranking. I'm actually going a little bit higher than you. I'm going at a 7, just because I find that where you draft it, the value that it brings in terms of extra points has to be taken into consideration. If you give it a 7 on 10, that's basically based off of you drafting well around it. But if you're just drafting willy-nilly, going crazy, saying, oh, I'm just going to draft whatever and grab GMAX Sandaconda later on, it's going to struggle quite a bit, and you're going to have a worse impression of it. This Pokemon has so many different options to it, and honestly, before I started looking into the information for this video, I would have probably given it, honestly, a 4 or a 5, but it has so many more options available to it than just its regular non-Gigantamax counterpart. And because of that, I would definitely have to say 6.5, 7, but probably a 7 would be where I would rank it personally.
On a good day, I could be persuaded to a 7.
Good to know. Good to know that you can be easily persuaded to do that. All right, well, at this point, we've covered everything. And was there anything else that you want to mention about GMAX Sandaconda, or did you get everything off your chest?
I think GMAX Sandaconda is probably my favorite GMAX design overall. I think a lot of them have really cool appearances, and I think a lot of them bring new character and new life to the Pokemon. I think GMAX Sandaconda looks so cool.
You know, I have not heard anyone say that GMAX Sandaconda is their favorite design-wise when there's like Toxtricity, Charizard, Mega GMAX Blastoise. Are you kidding me? Sandaconda? Sure.
I like it, man. I like it. It's got like the vicious sandstorm around the top of it. It just coils up. It's got the gigantic nose. Nah, man. Sandaconda's got a special place in my heart with its GMAX form.
It looks mean, so I'll just leave it at that. Now that you've heard from us, I want to hear from you guys. Make sure to leave a comment on what you think about this GMAX Sandaconda and what partners you'd like to pair with it. The top comment will be featured in next week's video. If you want to learn more about other GMAX Pokemon, feel free to check out the other videos in the series. The playlist is in the description and in the cards. If this is the first time you've seen one of my videos, consider subscribing, especially if you like competitive Pokemon. Oh, and of course, don't forget to like the video as well. Next week, my guest and I will be covering the terrifying GMAX Grimmsnarl. And if you'd like to vote on episode 16, there's a straw poll link in the description and in the cards, and your options are going to be GMAX Butterfree or GMAX Machamp. Thanks for joining me today, Chase. Why don't you let everyone know what you have planned for the future?
Well, guys, if you like Draft League content, you're already over here, you like some Draft League content, let me tell you what, we got 2 Draft Leagues going on over on the other channel. I love my Draft League. I've been doing it for years now. If you guys want to check out our participation in the Breejex Battle Royale or in the WBE World Battle Entertainment, that is kicking off. By the time this video goes live, there should be a battle coming up here later this weekend if you want to check that out. Got plenty of playthroughs over on the other channel. Got some Twitch stuff going on. Plenty of stuff in the works for all sorts of people. So feel free to stop on by, and maybe it'll make your day.
Make sure to check out his links. They'll all be in the description. And again, thank you, Chase, for joining me. And thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.